Hello, and thanks for joining us for Managing Caregiving Through the Holidays. I'm Ashley Scott, Program Manager with the Alzheimer's Association National Capital Area Chapter, and I'll be your moderator for today's event. As you may know, November is National Family Caregivers Month and National Alzheimer's Disease Awareness Month. It is also the start of the holiday season, which can be a joyous time filled with togetherness, celebrating family traditions, and creating memories. However, it can also be a difficult time for many Alzheimer's caregivers and their families as they try to balance caregiving and holiday traditions. Join with me today are Alzheimer's Association volunteers and former caregivers, Michael Smith and Shalini Mikos. Michael Smith is a community educator and support group facilitator within the DMV area, and he was a caregiver for his wife, who was diagnosed with early onset dementia. Shalini Michaels was a caregiver for her father and her mother-in-law, and today she is a volunteer community educator and the executive leadership team chair for the Walk to End Alzheimer's Northern Shenandoah Valley. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley.
Delighted to be here.
Now, before we get started, I'd like to invite those that are watching to ask some questions and share your caregiving experiences in the chat box. Our team is managing the chat and ready to answer all of your questions and read all of your comments. And finally, if you haven't signed up for today's event, please register using the link in the comments or this video's description. By registering, you will help us know who attended today's event and create more events like this in the future. Shalini, why don't you start us off? You balanced caregiving with your mother-in-law who had a dementia diagnosis. And at the time, you were caring for your kids and your husband was based overseas. So what is the number one thing that a caregiver can do to reduce stress during the holidays?
So I think the number one thing is really self-care. And for me, as a caregiver who did not have a lot of support, as far as family and friends in the area, because I had moved to where my mother-in-law lived and I was new in the area. That looked like starting a home workout program so that I would have some time to work on my own fitness. And along with that, I tried to eat healthy as I was cooking her meals. And then also, when I could utilize a respite service, I was taking my kids to the park and just taking walks.
Absolutely, Shalini. I totally agree. Caregivers are encouraged to prioritize self-care, especially during the holiday season, because this gives them time to recharge and refocus. And as you mentioned, there are so many services that are available to assist them with this. Michael, I'm going to come to you next. You served as the caregiver for your late wife, Bernita. What are some ways that caregivers can modify holiday traditions for the person that's living with dementia?
One can modify the holiday by focusing on comfort and peace. Shift your goal from creating a perfect holiday. Let go of the stressful tasks. It's important to keep in mind KISS. Keep it simple and be flexible. Understand that things will be different and be prepared to have a flexible schedule so that you're flying on the fly to accommodate what's going on. Arrange a group discussion beforehand so that you're having conversations with your other loved ones, family members, to prepare them for what the experience might be. And give yourself permission to do only what you can reasonably do and safely manage. So again, don't worry about a perfect holiday. Enjoy the experience, keep it memorable.
Absolutely. That is great advice, Michael. Involving the person that's living with dementia can embrace unity. It can evoke positive emotions, and it can also provide some opportunities for some nonverbal connections. Now, I want to take a quick pause here and remind those that are watching to drop some questions and comments in the chat for our staff to address. Shalini, If I'm a family member that's visiting a loved one with dementia during the holidays, how can I best support them and the caregiver?
I love this question. Like I said, I didn't have a lot of support, including family, but if I was able to, you know, if I was able to turn back time and have that support, what I would do is maybe make a wish list for that family member, a list of things that I needed help with that would really make a difference. And it could even be just the smallest things, because at
Yeah.
that time, just maybe having someone mow the lawn for me or giving me a couple minutes to go out and grocery shop. So I would say make a list and give it to that person that's willing to help you out.
Great advice, Shalini, and I'm sure that advice resonates with so many caregivers that are watching us today. Michael, what are some other tips that can help us reduce stress during the holidays?
It's important to engage our loved ones who have Alzheimer's or the other forms of dementia by allowing them to be engaged. Assign them simple tasks. As an example, with Bernita, I asked her to help put down the placemats for Thanksgiving. I also asked her to help pick out different colored napkins to put out. So getting them engaged, having them participate in familiar activities, even if they're not able to engage in familiar activities, at least playing their favorite music, maybe showing old photos of previous holiday experiences. And that will also help to prompt conversations and reminiscing about past holidays.
Those are great tips, Michael. Virtual holiday connections can be convenient for caregivers and less stimulating for those that are living with dementia. Now, we do have a plethora of resources through the Alzheimer's Association, including our 24/7 helpline and our community resource finder, which we will add links to in the chat. Please also take a moment to visit our chapter's website at www.alz.org/NCA or scan the QR code that is on your screen for a complete list of our support groups and to request educational programming. Michael and Shalini, I'd like you both to answer this last question. Which Alzheimer's Association resources were most helpful in supporting your caregiving journey? Shalini, why don't you go first, and Michael, you can close us out.
So my favorite resource and the one that I share all the time is the 24/7 helpline. You can call that number. It's 1-800-272-3900. You can call day or night and really whatever you need. If you are maybe worried about a symptom or just need someone to talk to, they're trained counselors. So actual real people ready to take your call. And bonus, they can speak multiple languages.
What about you, Michael?
The importance of support groups. You don't have to go it alone, whether those support groups are virtual or in person. Being able to realize you're not alone in the journey. In my experience, we had a unique opportunity to both as a caregiver be engaged with other caregivers during the support group. Bernita went with me. And for those living with early onset dementia or early Alzheimer's, they did some activities to keep them stimulated. So support groups, also support groups for those living with Alzheimer's, so we can keep them mentally and socially engaged.
Great. Thank you both, Michael and Shalini, for sharing your valuable insights with us today. And if you enjoyed today's event, please don't forget to register using the link in the comments or this video's description. Registering helps us determine how many people tuned in for today's event, and it also helps us to gauge interest in similar events for the future. Caring for a loved one with dementia poses unique challenges during the holiday season, but I hope you found some tips, suggestions, and resources today to help you navigate the holidays more smoothly. Thanks for joining us for today's discussion. Happy holidays, and we'll see you in the next one.